Russia-Ukraine news. At the BRICS summit, Putin talks about grain deals and illegal sanctions. Despite unlawful sanctions that seriously hinder the export of Russian food products, Russian President Vladimir Putin said the economy had stabilized through the first half of the year. Russian President Vladimir Putin, South Africa's Cyril Ramaphosa, China's Xi Jinping, India's Narendra Modi, and Brazil's Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva all spoke at yesterday's 15th BRICS summit in Sandton. Over 40 world leaders, hundreds of government officials, 2,500 delegates, and reporters from all over the world are present for this summit. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov is in South Africa leading the Russian Federation delegation, so Putin gave his address via video link. Putin claimed that logistics, insurance, and bank payments in Russia had become more difficult due to the sanctions. Russia's ability to export grain and fertilizer is being sabotaged on purpose, and we're being unfairly blamed for the global economic crisis. Putin claimed that Russia's withdrawal from the Black Sea grain deal was to blame for soaring food prices, but the vast majority of Ukraine's exports went to affluent nations. As the article states, only 3% went to the least developed countries. Negotiations with potential partners are still ongoing, but Putin has already announced that Russia will ship 25,000 to 50,000 tons of grain to 6 African countries at no cost to the recipients. He also said that the new development bank of the BRICS countries would play a significant role in the process of shifting trade away from the US dollar and into national currencies, which would be discussed at length at the summit. It's gaining momentum, he said, the objective, irreversible process of de-dollarization of our economic ties. Chinese Commerce Minister Wang Wentao, speaking on Xi's behalf, emphasized the importance of the BRICS Business Council's establishment. The Council has fulfilled its mandate and contributed to the continued expansion of economies around the world. Wang remarked, the world is changing at an unprecedented rate. Before the start of the summit, Ramaphosa hosted a Chinese delegation led by Xi at the Union Buildings in Pretoria. Before leaving to join the other leaders for the main summit, Ramaphosa, Xi, and officials signed 10 trade and bilateral agreements. Modi claimed that India has the fastest growing major economy in the world despite the uncertainty of the international economy. India's economy is expected to hit $5 trillion in the near future. India has redirected economic growth opportunities from crises and difficulties. In recent years, India has implemented reforms that have made it easier for businesses to operate there. A growing percentage of the global economy is controlled by the BRICS countries, Lula said at the first BRICS summit. We are now responsible for 32% of global GDP, making us larger than the G7. According to him, BRICS is the driving force behind the dynamism of economies in the global south. Ramaphosa claimed that the BRICS countries had strengthened ties between their various organizations since the group's formation. The BRICS Business Council is an important and active forum for fostering closer ties among the member nations and developing shared perspectives on advancing economic growth and investment opportunities for all. What the world economy looks like today is largely the result of shifts in the BRICS economies over the past decade. These nations are now responsible for 25% of the global economy and 15% of international trade. Ramaphosa claimed that the group of 5 nations had made a significant international impact. He claimed that rising protectionism and unilateralism were harmful to international trade and the economy. Transparency, inclusiveness, and a multilateral trading system that supports a developmental agenda are necessary for economic growth, and we must reaffirm this position. We require a fundamental reform of the global financial institution so that they can be more agile and responsible for the challenges facing the developing economy, Ramaphosa said.